Another one bites the dust. Ow! Another one bites the dust. Hey, hey! Another one bites the dust. Hey! Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one gone. And another one gone. Another one bites the dust. Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna get you too. Another one bites the dust.
This is Joey with Guardian Angel Exterminating, and a customer's called because she's noticed some termite signs in her bathroom. And over here, subterranean termites have penetrated up through the hole in the slab where the plumbing comes up, and they've found their way through the tile. It's actually like a synthetic tile here in the shower, kind of like a molded fiberglass or plastic shower frame. And they found their way through cracks, and now it's the swarming season, which is spring of 2013 in Oklahoma. So that's what they're doing here. They're trying to figure out a way. And if you get a real up close look, let's just see if I can do this. There, you can see them traveling around a little bit in there. You can see their little movements, their antennas. There they are. You see them sticking their little antennas out? You can see them all over sticking their antennas out. The reason why they can't come all the way out and you're only seeing them pop their little antennas out is because their body needs a certain amount of moisture. Their body has to retain moisture. That's why they bring this dirt up with them. If I were to break a little bit of this off, we'd probably expose some termites. You want to try it? Here we go. Oh my, look at that. And there you have it.
I know, I will.
We're here at a customer's house, and underneath their bathroom and their bathtub, they had this termite problem. The termites start from where they cut the hole in the slab to let the plumbing go down the drain. And here is what they look like. Here, there's some going up and down right now as we speak. Here we go. There we are. Here they come. They're looking, because I just broke their mud tubes open, and so they're inspecting to see what's going on. And actually, these termites are just about to get exterminated. So this is going to be some of their last opportunity to live. And if you look over here, they built a giant branch from their mud tubes. And I'm going to try to break this open as well. Oh my. See?
Should we sing Amazing Grace?
They actually, it looks like they came up through the black rubber coating also. See, this is what a swarmer looks like. See how it has wings?
Squirt him. Can I smash it?
Oh, I'm about to unload. I just think it's pretty phenomenal to be able to look at how they stick their little heads out, wondering what's going on. The little black ones are actually swarming, and over there you can see they have wings as well, and they're trying to get out and start new colonies. And that little tan one in the middle, it's actually a soldier, and if you look from above, you can see it has two little pinchers, and those pinchers are supposed to help ward off other insects that could be potential, preying on them, like exterminators. But I don't think those little teeth are going to do anything towards the exterminator. As you can see here, we have termites which are eating a special table that was lying right next to a home that I'm treating for termites. This is what termites in Oklahoma do. These are subterranean termites. So they have to take these mud tubes, which you see here, they have to take them everywhere they go so they don't lose their body moisture. They have to retain a certain level of humidity and moisture, or else they'll dry out and they can't be in the normal air. So you can see as you flake off some of this, that's what the termites travel in. There is the table here, shaped like a heart. It's got some old tools in it, but it's only served as an opportunity for termites to eat. See how I broke that off? Let's look where I broke that off. You can see a whole lot more of termites. Oh, here's a nice pathway.
In the Midwest, we have subterranean termites. That means each and every termite colony is subdued to living underneath the ground. These termites require excess moisture, and when they are not traveling under the ground, they are building mud tubes above ground to retain their body moisture. These mud tubes allow them to travel above ground and feast on wood, such as the wood of our customers' homes. Because subterranean termites must travel through the soil to find food in a customer's home, treating the soil around the home can sufficiently solve people's termite pest problems and can also prevent future infestations. The two methods of treating around a home are trenching and drilling. We dig trenches through the soil and drill where there is concrete. After digging the trenches and drilling the holes, we fill them with termiticide, specifically the non-repellent termiticide called Termidor. This product works through the transfer effect. The chemical works without termites being able to detect it. They travel through the product and bring it back to the colony, causing it to spread like a virus through contact. In order to dig the trench around the perimeter of the home, we use shovels and pickaxes and other tools to dig approximately 4 to 6 inches deep and approximately 4 to 6 inches wide. Termidor requires us to treat with 4 gallons of product every 10 feet around the home. This means 4 gallons of product regardless of whether we trench into the soil or drill into concrete. In order to have an even treatment, we put half of the 4 gallons down inside the trench, and then we fill the trench back in with the backfill soil. Last but not least, we put the second half of the product on top of the backfill. This process ensures an even treatment. The standard for drill holes when treating for termites requires spacing the holes 12 inches apart. We have a stencil board that has holes pre-drilled to prevent uneven lines. Once we drill through the slab, we inject 0.4 gallons of termiticide into each hole. This equals 4 gallons per 10 feet.
So as we go around a home, it's really important to be conscious of everything you're doing, and that's why we get a termite bonus, because not only does it take a little extra physical labor, but it also is going to take a little bit extra mental labor. You can see here I'm standing in a flower bed, and if I'm not careful, I'm going to tread all over the homeowner's flowers. And we have had complaints before that we were careless when we were doing work in flower beds. So you're also going to see here there's a light, and I myself just almost stepped on and broke this light. And so not only are there sprinkler heads, but there's other things we need to be very careful of when we're doing a termite treatment. So here we're standing in a mulch bed, and one thing I like to encourage our workers to do is when they're pulling back the mulch, to pull it back, instead of just going back about a foot, to pull it back an extra foot so that there's room to place the dirt. As you can see here, it takes a little while to get to the dirt. And basically, once we get to the dirt, we don't really want to mix all this mulch with dirt and have dirty mulch. So we're going to pull the mulch back extra far so that we have a place to put the soil. See, now that I pulled the mulch back about 2 feet, I can place the dirt here and push the dirt back without mixing it with the mulch. Okay, you can see we have this blue tape all along the perimeter of the home. We place the blue tape as a measurement marker, and we use a measuring wheel to do that, but that's only for the soil that is up against the home. Where there's concrete, we have a different measuring method. This blue tape along the house is actually a guideline for us when we're putting in our product to know how much we're putting in for how many feet we're putting it in. Termitor, the label requires us to put 4 gallons every 10 feet around the home. And so the way we do that is we break it into 2 parts. You've seen how we dig a trench, and then we're going to end up filling that trench back in. Well, once we've dug the trench, we put half of the Termitor in between those 10-foot perimeters, and then after we fill the trench back in with soil, we put the other half. So the first go round, we put 2 gallons of Termitor every 10 feet around the home, and we have a measuring tool. It's an LCD display which tells us how many gallons we're putting out, and basically that tells us every gallon. So we put 2 gallons out after we dig the trench, then we fill the trench back in nice and neatly, and then we put the other 2 gallons out, and that tape allows us to measure every 10 feet around the home so we know the measurements. And actually, when we're done, it's important to remember to take that blue tape off the house so we don't leave a messy blue tape on the home. Okay, we've started the machine, we've allowed it to mix, and now this is called a flow meter. This is what allows us to do our job with precision. As you can see here, it says 0 gallons, and we've put out the tape every 10 feet, and once again, we want to put a total of 4 gallons out every 10 feet, but we're going to break that into 2 different treatments. We're going to put 2 gallons out every 10 feet and come back and put another 2 gallons out every 10 feet. So you want to spread it out evenly in between the tape. Now I have this rod that has about 6 points, which allows it to spread out through the soil. And I'm going to keep an eye on the flow meter as I go. And so basically, you want to be careful with this particular rod you don't soak your pants with it, or that you wear rubber boots. But any place that's dug a little bit unevenly, you can use the sharp point of the rod and get a little bit deeper into the soil if necessary. If you dig your trench right and proper, basically you're going to leave the dirt within about 6 inches from the trench, all the way along the trench, and you're not going to spread it out real messy. And if you do that right, it makes it a little bit easier when you go to put everything back. What I like to do is after you shove the dirt back into the trench with the shovel, I like to rake these crumbs back in at a diagonal motion, just keep going. And then you flatten it out. And there's several ways to flatten it out. You can flatten it out with the shovel, or you can take your shoes and step on it and try to flatten it up against the house. Once again, that's where rubber boots may come in handy. Or we also have a tamp. Now over here, this looks a little messy. You can see as you get over to here, along the house, it's a little bit choppy. It doesn't look like when we first got here, especially when you get underneath this gas line, it gets a little choppy. So what we're gonna do is pull out the tamp, and I'm gonna try to flatten it out a little bit better. There's more than one way to do things. There's the right way, which is the best way, and then there's a lot of wrong ways. And when we're doing a termite treatment, people are usually paying over $1,000 for us to come and dig a trench around their home and drill some holes in their concrete, and we need to make sure it looks as neat as possible when we leave. Now, I wouldn't want you to think that this is as neat as possible. This here mulch, this could be considered a lazy job of trying to put the dirt back. What I actually will do is get down on my hands and knees, and I'll try to flatten all this out. Got a little trash here, I'll pull that out. I'm gonna push the dirt in a little bit more. You know, you may want to have gloves on when you do this. You can attempt to do this with some tools like a shovel, but I find with mulch, the easiest way to do it is just spread your hands back and forth to even out the mulch. Now, with just about 2 minutes of doing this, or probably even less, this looks a lot better. So this is more of the ideal picture of what you want to leave behind when you're done. As you can see here, what Bill's doing is he's putting the second treatment down, which is an additional 2 gallons every 10 feet. And we've already pushed the dirt back against the home, and we've neatly pushed the mulch on top of that. And as you can see, we've tried very hard here to keep the flowers from being stepped on, and we've also tried very hard to push the mulch back just like it was. Now, this takes getting down on your hands and knees, and like you can see I am right now, and it takes straightening out the dirt and mud with almost as if you're a landscaper. So part of the reason you get the good bonus is so that you can basically, it takes a little extra work to make it look that nice. So as you can see, this looks pretty much just like it was. Now, the principle of treating a home with Termidor is to get the perimeter of the home completely treated and saturate underneath the soil, because in Oklahoma, as of right now, that's where we're treating, they only have subterranean termites, which means they only come up from the soil, and they're bound to underneath the ground as far as their colonies are concerned. Out in the way east in California, they have drywood termites. Those things don't need to live underground, so they have to tent homes because they don't have to approach the home from underneath the ground. But here in Oklahoma, all we have to do is treat the soil very well in order to control the termites, because they're subterranean termites. In Louisiana and Florida, they have Formosan termites. Formosan termites can actually take their colony and bring it up above ground. So basically they can build an underground colony above ground, and they're a little bit worse of a termite, because once again, just a ground treatment isn't enough to treat a Formosan colony. But here in Oklahoma, this is a good treatment because they're subterranean termites, and so treating the soil will help. Now, how do you treat the soil where you can't trench? Is you have to drill. So we have our trusty Hilti drill, which is actually lived up to its name, even though they're high-dollar drills. They're very good drills. We have a Hilti drill bit, which is actually it's the difference between trying to spread cold butter on a cold piece of bread or warm butter on a hot piece of toast. The Hilti drill bits go through the concrete a lot easier than a lot of other drill bits, so they're worth the extra money. That's just a side note. However, when you start drilling, there's a couple important things. These hammer drills have 2 options. As you can see here, there is a hammer and a drill, and then there's just a drill, and then there is a back out. The Hilti happens to have a back out drill section, and then there's just a hammer. So you always want to have it on hammer and drill when you're drilling. Here you can see there's a directional as well. If you ever happen to get stuck, you can go the opposite direction. However, you want to be careful you're not drilling in the opposite direction, because you'll be going backwards. So basically with these drills, once you start drilling, you want to hold on to that trigger until you go all the way through and penetrate through to the soil. You'll usually feel it break free once you hit the other side of the concrete and go through the soil. Then you keep your finger on the trigger and you pull all the way up, like so. you can see at the very end of that, I broke through. And also you can see about every 3 or 4 inches, I pulled up the drill, and that brings out all the concrete dust, which allows you to drill better. If you don't bring out the concrete dust by pulling up the drill, it's going to make it bog down and almost want to give. You see here we have this board because we measure every 10 feet with the soil, but this on the concrete we have to measure every foot. And so the reason we have the board is so we can make nice straight lines. Usually on this board we have 2 depths. We'll have a shorter depth and a wider depth. And when we put this up against a home, like in a front porch or a back porch, sometimes we'll do it like this. Other times there may be something in the way and we'll put it like this. But you want to keep the board pretty much spaced out evenly throughout the whole job so that you have straight lines when you're done. After we've done the drilling and we put the liquid Termitor into the ground with our concrete rod, when we're done, everything should be vacuumed up and cleaned up, and we have these little concrete plugs. They're called super plugs. These are 9/16 inch wide. The holes we drill are a 1/2 inch hole. And so basically, we have a few options for hammers. All the hammers we use, I like to have a pale white, something that's not going to leave a black mark. If you try to use a black rubber pallet, basically it'll leave black marks wherever you hit. So we use some sort of white. It could be a white rubber or white. This happens to be a white plastic mallet. Now you get the plug started in just like this, and sometimes it'll get cockeyed. A lot of times if you give it a straight pound, it'll straighten up. And you can either go a couple more with this end and get it to sink down in. You see where there's a little crack here. A lot of times you'll get cracks. So our goal is to get the flat part of the plug to cover the cracked areas. So if I go a couple more times, it gets it down a little bit further. This happens to have a small end, and so I can do 1 or 2 more times. Now you can see that's about as flat as I can get it, but that's a lot better than it being left above the concrete. So we want to get it flush as we can with the surface, and these hammers really help. This is a good example of an instance where a little bit of the concrete chipped, and right here this cap is sticking out a little bit more. If I take this and I tap it just a few more times, it gets it down a little bit more flush, and so that way it looks a little bit more flat.
Another one bites the dust. Ow! Another one bites the dust. Hey, hey! Another one bites the dust. Hey! Ooh, shout! Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one gone. And another one gone. Another one bites the dust. Hey! Hey! Gonna get you too. Another one bites the dust.